So in my last video, I called out Tracy Morgan and his son as playing roles in this Michael Brown event. In my videos in the past, I have given you helpful hints in how to spot these individuals and how to identify them. They tend to follow the same playbook over and over again. One of the rules of thumb is when you find one, you'll find many. The reason being is the other rule of thumb is keep it in the family. So you'll see the siblings or the children of the actor that you've identified playing roles as their supporting cast around them. This Michael Brown event has been one of these events that, of course, has allowed all the families to come out and take part in the conning of America. And now that you know those rules of thumb, apply it to the video that you see. This next clip I'm going to show you is nothing more than a gratuitous cameo for all the members of the cast. When I looked at it, there's a older white man with a hat on, and if you know that they've set the scene, you know that everything in that scene has been approved. So they put this older white guy in the front with a hat for a reason.
What side are you on, my people? What side are you?
When I looked at that, I went, man, he looks familiar. I know I've seen that face before. Come to find out, this is going to be your big man, the big man of this event. This is Norman Lear. And if you don't know who Norman Lear is, maybe you'll remember some of the shows that he's responsible for, like On the Family, Sanford and Son, Maude, Good Times, Jeffersons. I mean, you name it. Different Strokes, The Facts of Life, Archie Bunker, Gloria, 227. I mean, he's the one that's responsible for the classics. Who's the Boss? Silver Spoons. So you see that all these individuals that are related to these comic legends have ties to Lear because their parents or their relatives were in the shows that he created. So it's safe to say that he's the one creating this show. And the individual standing next to him, the young boy, that's his grandson. So we know it's Lear. And here we have none other than Whoopi and her family, her daughter and her grandchildren. This photo, of course, is 7 years old, but we can see the more recent photo. These are photographs of him when he was younger, and he took part in the Aurora movie shooting hoax. The person standing next to Whoopi is the either brother or cousin of him, and that's the person that they're using for the larger images of Big Mike. And we have another grandchild of Whoopi's standing right alongside of him that played as a role in it also. So you can see, as I said, keeping it all in the family.
Coming. We ready. We coming.
So since they can't put their names in the credits at the end of these productions, since nobody's supposed to know that they're fake and these are well-known actors, they allow them to make cameos. And remember what I said in my last video about the awkward placement of the actors, as it's not real because the scene is set per the director of photography, and because there's a camera being used, they have to have lighting and all the other different things that make up that scene have to be trained on one spot, and the actor has to follow that mark and perform as expected so the camera knows where they're going to go and stay in focus. So we see a scene here with a very awkward individual walking straight at the camera. Now, no one happens to be looking at him as he's walking through them because they're not supposed to be. They're told not to look at him. Everybody's supposed to be focused forward, except for this individual who is now looking right at the camera. Do you know why this individual has a cameo? It's because he's Don Cheadle or he's Tim Meadows. Now, some people have said they're the same person. Even Don has said on numerous shows that they get confused all the time. So I decided to look into it myself. At this point, the information that I have, the photographs that I've used, I can't say 100% that he is not the same person. Do I personally think he is? I don't think he is the same person, but here's some things to think about. With regards to his ears, I examined both of them. They are slightly different at the lobe and the trachea, which, if they aren't the same person, the genetic traits, the genetic markers that are present in the ears in both of them would lead me to say that they are at least cousins and possible brothers, as per maybe twins. Now, from that point, I checked the hands. The back of the hand images were what I had to use, and from that, they do appear to be the same person. But again, the poor grade quality of photographs that were used lead me to be unable to say 100%. So then we move on to the spouse. If you look at the spouse, they do look similar. So, again, it is questionable. The children are different, but as we've seen before, even with Lucy in her show, the children that were in her show were not her children, and her real children never appeared on the TV show. It leads me to being unable to say with certainty that they are the same individual. But, as I've said before, it doesn't matter at this stage. The objective that we have in these videos is to show that these events are fiction. Whether or not the actors are who I say they are or not is not relevant at this point. That will be relevant in the accountability phase. As I've mentioned before, this is the education phase, where we get people to understand what's going on and how this process works and who these individuals are per the producers. If we see these cameos, we know that they are individuals that are high profile and special to these events. This would be consistent if this person was Don Cheadle, because we've seen his daughter in many of the roles in this event, and his other daughter in other roles in this event.
Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
The individual to the far left is Oprah Winfrey's newly found half-sister. And like I said before, the way they frame a shot is on purpose. So, since you know that these are staged events, the camera position and the camera movement is already pre-planned, and they set the actors up according to what they want to focus on. And of course, like this one wouldn't stand out, that's Corinne Fox, Jamie Foxx's daughter.
Shoot! Don't shoot!
And then of course we have Angela Simmons.
Don't shoot!
And now this next clip, we're going to see some more of the famous children.
Officers from 15 departments were here on scene.
This is Magic Johnson's daughter and her friend from high school. But now the big grand finale. This next one might shock you, but it really shouldn't.
He was a good kid. He didn't live around here. He came to visit me.
Oprah and her mother. Nice.
He was spending the summer with me. And they did that to him for no reason.
Yeah, hang your head there, Oprah. It's a shame that you would allow yourself to be used like this in this type of event, but of course I understand you probably got your beginnings through Norman Lear, so you owe him one. But I hope you realize it's not worth it, since you'll probably lose a lot of your viewers because of this, and I hope you should lose a lot more than that. Oh yeah, and don't hate the messenger for pointing out the actions of others. These individuals are adults. I don't care what their business dealings are with Norman Lear. I don't care what agreements they have. They made those agreements with sound mind and they wake up every morning and choose to do what they do because of their own free will. So to attack me for pointing out their actions is just protecting the lies that they are propagating to you. I wanted to take this moment to say thank you to the individuals for the past 4 years that have been supporting Well Aware One and the work that we have been providing the public. The difference between what we do and, let's say, a 503c does is I look forward to the day that I can close the doors and say, we're done, we've accomplished what we set out to do. That would mean that legislation has been changed and these individuals are held accountable for their actions, and the processes and procedures are put in place that will make it much more difficult for these individuals to do this type of thing in the future. That's the goal of Well Aware One. That's what I want to accomplish. And until then, I will fight and do whatever I can to get that job done. This is what sets us aside from corporations that claim to be charitable. If you understand what a corporation truly is and what their goal is, it is not to go out of business. It is not to accomplish the task that they are accepting those donations for. Now, albeit some of them do support individuals that need help during times when they are sick or ill from disease. But to think of that corporation as trying to correct the problem at the root is something that you really need to reconsider. That would mean eventually they would go out of business if they did. And a corporation is not allowed to make decisions to purposely put them out of business. So from one side of the argument, I can understand that they do help individuals that are at times in need, but you can do the same thing. Donate it directly to those people. Don't give it to a corporation that only a certain percentage of it finally makes its way to the individual that it is intended for.